to add in one of those bad records, they've broken another one, by the way, just quickly. They've lost half of their home games, which is, I think, 6 of 12. The last time they did that, they were Newton Heath in the 1800s at the stage of the season. So another bad record. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so I think if you said to him, have you got the worst set of players in Manchester United's history, and asked him that question today, I think he would say no.
We'll get back to Gary in just a quick second, but remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe. And also, don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D video hits. And if you've got something to say, if something is bubbling inside of you that you need to express, please put it in the comments. I read all of the comments. Now, we're going to be talking about Gary Neville and his opinion on whether or not he agrees with what Ruben Amorim did. And that was call this Manchester United team the worst team in the history of Manchester United. Stick around for after the clip because I'm going to be giving my thoughts on that very subject. Anyway, here's Gary.
How do you feel about the comments?
He's heard it so many times over the last couple of months that this is the worst team in Manchester United's history in the Premier League at this stage in the season, that this is the worst performing Manchester United team in respect of so many different... He called them bad records, didn't he, in the interview that he did in the press conference and in the post-match.
Just to add in one of those bad records, they've broken another one, by the way, just quickly. They've lost half of their home games, which... is, I think, 6 of 12. The last time they did that, they were Newton Heath in the 1800s at the stage of the season. So another bad record. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, so I think if you said to him, have you got the worst set of players in Manchester United's history, and asked him that question today, I think he would say no. I think if he said, have Manchester United's current team got the worst record in Manchester United's history, Premier League history, he would say yes. So I think because so many people in so many press conferences, and he's aware himself, are saying to him, this is the worst Manchester United team in record in history in these different areas, I think he's quoting it back to startle everybody, to sort of say, look, we're in a really bad moment. He's got great English, so I'm not going to go down the route of, I think it's a misapplication of sort of his words, because I don't think it is, because I think he understands English very well. But my view is that I think he's had that said to him over a few weeks. Do you realise this is the worst Manchester United team in history by losing this many games? He's been asked lots of those types of questions, and I think he's playing that back a little bit. Do I think he actually thinks they're the worst Manchester United team in history? I don't think he does. However, whether that's true or not, who knows at this moment. What I do know is that I think he's sending a message. I think he's sending a message to the players. I think he's sending a message to the fans. I think, to be fair, if I was an owner of the club, I would be sat there today thinking, I've invested hundreds of millions of pounds in this squad. Lots of them have got long-term contracts, and I've got one of my employees. Now, it doesn't become as startling, this, until you apply it into a different business. If you take it out of football, it is incredible, this statement. If you had a manager in Tesco or in NBC or in Sky that came out and said, I think we're the worst set of employees, worst team that we've ever had at Sky in their history, or worst team ever, they would be sacked immediately, that manager, wouldn't they? In any other industry. They would. For actually saying something like that so publicly. However, in football, and if you remember a few years ago, Ralph Rangnick, when he said about how big a job, he said the club needed open heart surgery, he was basically saying this club needs a complete and utter overhaul of players and everything. At the time, he got kicked out of the club. So that will be for the owners today, hearing those words, and the sort of communications department, it will be devastating for them to, one, hear that from their manager that they've just employed, given a number of years contract to. So it's a real difficult predicament, I would suspect, today for the sporting directors, owners, Omar Barada, the CEO. It is going to be challenging this next few days because he's basically lifted the lid off. It's usually something that you never hear from a manager of a football club whilst they're there. That you don't hear those words. Whether they're said in the spirit of what I think or maybe what you think, it doesn't matter. They were said. And the headline this morning is, we're the worst team in Manchester United's history. And I think there comes a point here whereby they're going to have to really back him and say, right, we're going to let you get... Because, look, the team, to be honest with you, Rebecca, to do what they did against Arsenal and Liverpool and then basically play like they have against Southampton and Brighton tells you that they haven't got the right attitude to play at the top level. They haven't. Now, which of those could probably be sort of weeded out and which could be sort of, if you like, saved, I'm not sure. Because there's some of them that maybe can be saved. But imagine being a player listening to that.
That's why my next question: how does that go down in the dressing room? Does it seek out the few that have the real soul and the real integrity, and they say, I don't want to be a part of the worst team in Manchester United history. We'll lift our game every week now. I mean, it sounds so like simple and naive.
Yeah.
Or does it just lose everybody? I mean, I'd be if you, like you say, if my boss said that, like, you're the worst on-air talent we've ever had at NBC. I ain't turning up for work, by the way. I ain't coming in. I know what you're about to say. I know you're about to say. You're out of order. You are out of order. But seriously, you're a player today, and you hear that. Gary,
I'd be absolutely devastated if I was in that dressing room and my manager, there were times where our manager would say about us, that was a disgraceful performance we saw out there today. Performance, I'm talking in the singular.
Yeah, that's miles away from what we're talking about.
Yeah, but we were devastated. We'd be devastated, yeah. Absolutely. If we got called disgraceful by our manager for one performance, we would literally, for the next 3 or 4 days, almost curl into a ball and think, we've got to get out of this quickly. You're spiking yourself to get into that sort of, we've got to put this right quickly. Honestly, what I suspect you've got in that dressing room at Manchester United is, you're right, there'll be different sort of elements of that dressing room. Some players will think, he doesn't mean me. He can't mean me because I'm doing okay. Some players will be absolutely devastated and probably, to be fair, fight and show some element of spirit and go for it. And others may become despondent by it, but almost in some ways sort of say, that's disgraceful, almost not turn against him publicly, but almost like go against him and sort of like whisper and say, he shouldn't be saying that's ridiculous, he said that, and whisper in little groups amongst them. Now that's devastating. So the group that are confident, that think they should be there, it's not about me. I actually don't mind those types of lads, because they're the lads that, to be fair, believe they should be playing for United, and to be fair, are a little bit confident, hold their shoulders out and think, no, I don't mean me, I know he thinks I'm all right. The lads that are devastated, you want that because you want lads that care. It's the ones that are muttering in the middle that are saying, he shouldn't be saying stuff like that. He's not changed the system. He's still playing. They're the ones that he has to try and find out who they are. Now, I don't know who they are, but there will be some in that dressing room that are in that group. They're the ones that the mutterers, the sort of the little sort of like snidey remarks, the little ones that sort of culturally just eroding sort of confidence and negative, and that negativity spreads. So for me, that's the group he's got to try and find. But look, it's a startling admission in a press conference in whatever context he made it, and I would say that the fans I think will like it, because and just something from Amorim's point of view, I think he's thought, hang on a minute, the coach has been sacked here every couple of years. I'm not accepting this. I need action now. I want something absolutely different now. Over the last few months, Jim Ratcliffe, Dave Brailsford, Omar Barad, they've made some big decisions, and they've made a lot of cuts at the club in terms of sort of big numbers of staff. I suspect, and I think this is pretty much true because it's been briefed out, that every single player is up for sale. No matter who you are, probably Ahmad may not be, and maybe one or two others, but pretty much every single player in that dressing room, I think, is available. Not actively, you're up for sale, we're going to sell you, you get out. I'm talking about available to be able to be bought.
Gary Neville always has the opinion, but me saying that about Gary Neville is like the kettle calling the pot black, so I can't talk. But when it comes to Ruben Amorim, on why he said what he said, Gary's wrong in the sense that I don't think that was a strategic comment that Ruben Amorim gave in the press conference, and I think he's come out and said actually that it was a spur of the moment kind of comment, because he went into the dressing room, he kicked off, smashed the TV, and he's come out to the press conference and he's been in a little bit of a mood, a little bit cheesed off, so to speak, and he's sat down and he's just let it out, and he even admitted it, so that sometimes he's young and sometimes he makes mistakes. So in terms of any kind of as I say, strategic intention with what he said. I don't think that's the case. And no, it wasn't the case. It wasn't the case indeed. But will the board see that as a message? Will they see it as a message? I don't think so. Because the board seems to know what's going on. They know what players they need, what players they want to sell. They know the manager needs some help. They know the manager needs a player or two in January. So I think they'll all understand that Ruben Amorim was just kind of venting. Should he have vented? Should he have controlled himself? Probably. Because alluding to what Gary said there, if he was in the dressing room, he would have been devastated. It's not a good thing for those players to hear the manager cuss them out live on national television. It's not good. It's not good because it will put enough people's nose out of joint where they might down tools. Now, I don't think they'll down tools in this instance because they're going to look at the situation. They're going to understand that no one's safe in that dressing room and that if anyone's going to go, it's not going to be the manager because he's just been signed. So I think they're going to understand that situation. Well, you'd think anyway, but maybe I'm giving some of those players more credit than they deserve. But Gary's right in a way, though. There's going to be some players in there that are devastated, and he's certainly got a point in the sense that perhaps there'll be a silver lining with this little hiccup, in that him seeing that. He'll be able to see what this squad is made of. And he'll see that in training. He'll see who is still training hard. He'll see who is a little bit despondent, and he'll see who's actually working hard as well. As in, so for instance, the players who are just training consistently, it's as if nothing's been said. So they're just going to come in and it's going to be business as usual. He's going to notice the players who are despondent. They're the ones who care. And the ones who are a little bit nonchalant, they're going to be the ones that he needs to keep an eye on. The ones that are going to be whispering behind his back. So that might have a little bit of a positive uptake on what he's done there. And Gary is right in that the attitude isn't right. They haven't got a big team attitude. They haven't got a winning mentality. I've said time and time again, titles are not won at Anfield or at the Emirates or at the Etihad. The titles are won against Brighton, against Nottingham Forest, home and away. You pick up more points against the smaller sides than you do against the bigger sides. But it's up to Manchester United, this current crop of Manchester United players, to understand that having a winning mentality means having the same mentality when you play Brighton as you do when you play Liverpool. Consistency. Consistency is key. I would even say put consistency on top of hard work, because hard work flows down from consistency. So if you aim to be consistent, you're going to work hard naturally to be consistent. And if you constantly try and be consistent, the momentum of being consistent will carry you forward, and it will compound, and you'll pick up results, and you'll pick up points, and you'll climb the table. So on and so forth. It's basic psychology. But getting these players to understand that, well, that's a tough job for Ruben Amorim. But yeah, hopefully what Ruben Amorim has said has positive long-term effect, it might just hopefully gives the board a little bit of more of an impotence, 10% more impotence. That's what Man United are at the moment, impotent. Anyway, it'll give them a little bit more impetus to get a deal over the line. Also, hopefully, Amorim will be able to see who responds positively and who responds negatively from that comment. And hopefully there'll be enough players that respond positively for Manchester United to kick on. But we'll soon see against Glasgow Rangers. But anyway, what do you guys think? Do you agree with what Gary has to say? If not, you know where to put it. Put it in the comments. If you have gotten this far in this video, you are clearly enjoying my content. You are clearly enjoying engaging with me. And if that is the case, please engage with me in the comments. I read all of the comments. But anyway, see you in the next one.